Do you want aim like this? And YouTube comments like this. I highly suggest you watch the video to the end. I'm assuming you clicked on this video because you feel like you suck at aiming. And you have come to the right place. I'm gonna teach you everything that I know in terms of aiming with all the different experience I have accumulated over the years. I've been playing games like Quake, Overwatch, Team Fortress 2, and Apex for a majority of my life. And I would say that I specialize in arena shooters or fast-paced shooters, technically. Which is exactly what the Finals is. It's a fast-paced arena shooter. So, let's get started. First of all, I want to talk about sensitivities. There is nothing called the perfect sense. There are different senses for each game. Like, let's say you're playing CSGO. The movement and how the player models react are a lot different compared to how the player models in the Finals react. In the Finals, people move around a lot and they are taking jump pads, they're taking zip lines, they're strafing, they're doing a lot more. While in CS and Valorant, people are mostly just walking in a straight line or strafing left or right, so your sense doesn't really need to be that high. While in the Finals, it needs to be a little bit higher compared to other games because of how the movement works and how people move. So in the Finals, I would recommend a sense between 32 centimeters per 360 and 42 centimeters per 360. Personally, I use 35 centimeters because I feel like that's a sweet spot for me personally. But that also depends on what kind of mouse pads or mouse feet and mouse you're using. It's a lot of variables. Next up, I want to talk about aim trainers. And aim trainers help a lot. Like a lot. If you do it correctly. What I mean by correctly is that a lot of people new to aim trainers just go into a grid shot scenario and just click dots, and that doesn't really benefit you at all or do anything special for your aim. What you should be doing is practicing and improving the things you are lacking on. Like, let's say you are lacking on tracking, you should practice tracking. Let's say you are struggling with target switching, you should practice target switching. And there's a lot of scenarios you can practice that on. But you should mainly be focusing on practicing scenarios you would find in-game. I have a playlist in Kovacs that basically replicates every final scenario, and the code is in the description. And if you're new to aim training, I would highly recommend you to join a aim community like Voltaic. They have a lot of resources on how to improve your aim, and there's a bunch of good people in there. So just join it and read and just learn. After you join the Discord, I would recommend you to do the Voltaic benchmarks. Here you will kind of see what you're lacking on and what you need to improve on. Links are in the description. I'm also going to leave a 2-hour podcast down in the description where they talk about aim and aim myths, and it's just super good when it comes to aim, and just watch it. I recommend it. Next up are some settings you should change immediately. And the first one is deactivating pointer precision that is enabled in Windows. So what this setting actually does, if it's enabled, it gives you like a really bad mouse acceleration that is on by default. You should just turn this off. It's super bad. So the way you remove pointer precision is you go into mouse settings, then you go to more mouse settings. After this is open, you go into pointer options, then you uncheck this, and then pointer precision should be off. Next up is basically disabling the mouse smoothing that is enabled by default in game. And you can disable this by pasting a command in the game file. And this is how you do it. You basically go and type %AppData percentage. Go into this, you go to AppData, you click it, then you go to local, then you go and type discovery, then you go to saved, config, then the WindowsClient, then you find this game user settings.ini. You go into edit with notepad if you have notepad, and all the way at the bottom you basically just paste this that I have in the description, and then you save. And that should be it. That should disable the mouse smoothing that is enabled by default. The next setting I feel like you should change, in my personal opinion, is basically turning mouse focal length sensitivity scaling to off. This is basically going to make it so you have a 1:1 sensitivity. So whenever you ADS, it's the same sense as when you hipfire. This helps with being consistent, pretty much. Next up, I want to talk about some in-game things. Mainly recoil smoothing. So, if you look at the XP, this is the recoil. Right? If you strip left or right, the recoil becomes less. As you can see, it doesn't really do anything weird, right? And if you move your mouse while strafing, you essentially have no recoil. While if I do nothing, it goes up. If I move my mouse left and right, I have no recoil. This is what recoil smoothing is. It basically helps you aim when you strafe. You should use this to your advantage. You can pretty much just use this every single fight. If you're fighting someone at far, like super far away, you can basically strafe, right? So, like strafe right. And compensate that with recoil. Like you can make your recoil less if you strafe. Right? This works for every single gun. F-Core, for example, has really like weird recoil. Right? While if you strafe, it's gone. I'm not really controlling my recoil, I'm just strafing right side. You can see I don't really have any recoil. And you can apply this on targets from range. It's a bit different with F-Core, but you know. You can apply the same strat with F-Core and every other gun. You just strafe right. And the recoil becomes a lot less recoiler. If that's a word. Next up, I want to talk about how you can actually like try and practice recoil. So let's take XP as an example. This is the recoil. You can see at the top, it kind of like flattens out. So you just have to control this part. So after you know this, you kind of just start learning the pattern. You pull down a bit and then you stop pulling down. And this is the same thing for every gun. And what I like doing is just practicing from super far away, trying to learn the recoil pattern without moving. And after a while, you start getting the pattern down. Then it just becomes easy. Since I've played XP since the start, I have a lot of hours on XP, so the recoil is like super easy for me. Right? But if you take a weapon like M11, for example, this gun has horrible recoil, right? This recoil is horrible. But if you apply the same technique that I talked about earlier with recoil smoothing, if you strafe, you basically have no recoil. See? There's nothing. I'm just strafing left and right. I'm doing nothing. I'm not pulling down anything. It's the same example with M11. Right? And you can apply this to range as well. Next up, I also want to talk about movement aiming. And what do I mean by movement aiming? It's essentially the art of just mirroring the opponent's movements to make it easier for you to aim. So let's say you're standing still, right? And this guy's just moving like a crazy person. You just have to you have to aim on them. But if you mirror his pattern, either by going left, it's a lot easier to aim. Because I don't have to move my mouse. If I mirror his movement, it's going left now. I click left, I don't need to move my mouse at all. And I'm still on target. This is what movement aiming is. So essentially, if you're fighting a guy that is going left side, you can either decide to strafe right side to make it a lot easier to aim, or just mirror his movement to basically remove the fact that you need to aim. Because right now, this guy is moving left. I'm moving left. I don't need to do anything. That's about everything I can talk about in this video. I was gonna talk about health and sleep and staying hydrated and that kind of things, but I'll just skip that for now. Leave a like and smash the sub button if you guys enjoy this type of content. If you guys want to see me live, go follow my Twitch. I'm live pretty much every single day grinding the finals, so I hope to see you there. Bye bye.